Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for standing by and welcome to Visual BI's webinar. Today, we will walk you through our webinar titled Exploring AI ML Capabilities in Power BI. During the presentation, all participants will be in listen-only mode. If you have a question during the presentation, please submit it via the Q&A portion of the screen. Simply type your question into the box and click the send button. Our presenter will address questions at the end of the presentation, time permitting. If you don't hear an answer to your question today, don't worry. We will deliver answers to you individually after the webinar. The webinar is being recorded and a link to the replay will be sent to you via email. Presenting today is Jiwan Chan and Min Deng. Jiwan is the data scientist and Min Deng is the data science associate at Visual BI Solutions. I will now turn the presentation over to the presenter.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Jiwan Chan, and today we're going to talk about the artificial intelligence and machine learning capabilities in Power BI. Before we start, just a quick disclaimer. This presentation outlines Visual BI's general product direction and should not be relied on making any formal decisions for purchasing. As mentioned, I am joined by Min, who is our data science associate at Visual BI, and we're going to walk you through a couple of topics today. First, we're going to give an overall introduction to AI and machine learning. It provides a baseline to understand how AI and machine learning are defined and what the use cases are, and how they are affecting business across industries. And then we're going to turn our attention to how AI and machine learning are specifically empowering BI in terms of data monetization to draw business values. And this topic will also mention some implementation challenges. Min is going to be joining and take us through 5 types of solutions to leverage AI/machine learning in Power BI with live demo later in the webinar. And the webinar will wrap up with key takeaways. And with the time permitting, we'll take questions as mentioned via the messaging chat window in the webinar. Just a little bit about Visual BI. We are all-in-one partner for end-to-end BI and analytics needs, and we are trusted by customers of all sizes and industries, including a lot of Fortune 500 customers, some of which you can see in the logos here. We have BI and analytics consulting, products and training offerings focusing on providing BI solutions for both Microsoft and SAP platforms. And we are a partner and work closely with almost all the major BI vendors like SAP, Microsoft, Snowflake, Tableau, etc. Let's start with the topic of AI and machine learning basics. So what is AI and machine learning? Artificial intelligence, AI, and machine learning, ML, we call it ML, become very popular terms these days, and usually they come together when mentioned. So let me define the concept in a little more simpler way. So you can think AI as a technique that enables machine to think like human. You can think it as a little broader concept of machine learning, because machine learning is a subset of AI that includes, algorithms or statistical methods, which train machines to get better at tasks without explicit programming. Here, I want to stress the term. The term train without explicit programming means that we let machines learn for themselves. So AI is all types of usage of computers or machines to copy the cognitive functions of human. And machine learning is actually nothing but a way to materialize AI. So this is one of my favorite cartoons to defeat a complex explanation about AI. We have been using traditional statistics for a long time. Now we frame it with machines' compute power, and when we apply the result of machine learning, then that's what represents AI. So these are not something totally new, right? So we also have been actively using this in our business already. These are the sample scenarios that I want to show you that AI and machine learning itself is used in the industry. So let's take a look. The very first one, when you do online shopping, especially in this COVID-19 situation, we have seen drastic increase in demand of online shopping, right? So you might have experienced some items coming up on the screen while you're shopping, and then being recommended for you to consider buying. So this personalized marketing is backed up by a machine learning algorithm behind. We call it recommendation system or recommender engine. This one analyzes customers' browsing and purchasing activities and finds new product lines to suggest. You may also have an experience of fraud detection from your bank, informing that they have identified abnormal transactions that require your confirmation. This can happen by applying a technique, what we call anomaly detection. And anomaly detection can kind of pick up some kind of abnormal situations and then show you. So plus, we can also see some sales predictions or price predictions. They're becoming very popular to facilitate businesses' marketing strategy. And also, we frequently use chatbot or virtual assistant in any type of website to handle queries and improve customer satisfaction. So let's look at some numbers here. Excuse me. This chart is borrowed from a report for AI Index in 2019. We can see that AI is now being adopted in the multiple regions on the planet, and then the adoption percentage is increasing. If you look at the chart on the left, overall, AI in overall adoption in at least one business unit has been increased to 58% in 2019 from 47% in 2018 out of the survey responses. In most of the regions, more than half of the respondents are using AI or at least have stepped into AI, right? And then let me show you another chart here. This one shows the AI adoption percentages by industry and business functions. You may have more interest in this chart. As you can see here, different types of industries that range from manufacturing, like automotive, the first one on the top, energy, finance, retail, to technology and logistics, of course, all are actively adopting AI. So for most of the industries, we can see the service operations and product/service development units are the main areas to use AI. But we can also see that depending on the business nature, they implement AI with different strategies. For example, for automotive industry, they use AI intensively in manufacturing unit, like 53%. But finance industry considers improvement in risk management using AI is important because they need to protect their organization or customer information in their data processing pipeline. So we saw the numbers of using AI and machine learning with BI. Then why are we using AI and machine learning? So there must be a bunch of discussions, but here are top four reasons that we think important. First and foremost, business can make better decisions by applying AI and machine learning. These are not going to make decisions on behalf of human, but using intensive computation and big data exploration capabilities, AI and machine learning help the decision-making process so that people can deliver solutions in a timely manner. And this can be led to another point that AI and machine learning can help allocate resources and optimize businesses' internal and external operations. Also, they help improving existing products. As mentioned earlier, we are able to provide better services to our customers by adding, recommender engine, like I said before, or chatbot features to our existing customer support systems. Last but not least, AI and machine learning can create new features or systems to accommodate complicated requirements from industry. So you may have heard about AlphaGo or breast cancer image detection, and all these many AI products prove to be successful when deployed to solve current challenges or explore new areas. Okay, now I want to discuss a little more detail about how AI and machine learning can enhance business intelligence before Min introduces the features in Power BI. Let's take a look. When we talk about BI, BI industry is now evolving from just providing information to suggesting optimization. Some of you may be familiar with this graph here. This chart is based off of Gartner's 4 stages of data analytics maturity, which is often used to understand the development of BI and sometimes data analytics, data science field to make values for business out of data. So the four steps represent the levels of BI or data analytics. In traditional BI, that includes reporting and ad hoc analysis. And then this traditional BI has been usually engaged in the first 2 stages, descriptive and diagnostic. And it uses historical data to answer the questions about like what kind of event happened and why did it happen. And as analytics requires more maturity or complexity, it goes into the level of predictive and prescriptive analytics. And BI starts to be combined with AI and machine learning to forecast future events. And at the end, it provides insights for us to make optimized decisions. So going from the bottom left to the top right of this graph, it shows the higher maturity and more engagement of AI and machine learning. But I want to stress one thing here. So now AI and machine learning is actually not only contributing to the overall progress to the top right advanced level, but it is also infused in every step of this progress because the BI development now requires creating more immediate and intuitive experience to the users. So, well, to give you a quick glance of how Power BI responded to the needs in these steps, for example, Min is going to take you through, but it provides Q&A feature based on natural language processing to improve the descriptive stage of answering to a user's question quickly. And there's another feature called AI visuals or AI visualization in Power BI as well. That includes a function called key influencers to enhance diagnostic analytic power. And Power BI also has AI insights and automated machine learning features for the needs in predictive and prescriptive analytics. So to summarize, these are the bullet points that we can get when combining BI with AI. We can analyze more and deeper, and of course, get the most out of data. We're also able to make our existing BI tools smarter and apparently answer to the business requirement quickly and intuitively. We can also provide better strategic direction from data for decision making, and also let machine take care of the repetitive tasks and automate the process, and then we can use that time doing more valuable work. Okay, now we understand that AI and machine learning helps BI, right? But when we actually try to implement AI in business applications, different personas in the organization, like including AI and machine learning professionals and business users, they face some challenges. So for AI professionals or machine learning professionals or professional data scientists, it is time consuming to set up an environment. Sometimes it takes weeks or sometimes it takes months to apply AI and machine learning because these techniques usually require big data and heavy computation. And although they are the experts of complex methods or algorithms, mathematical ways to solve some problems, but usually they are lack of domain expertise when applying the technique to the real business cases. And sometimes it is necessary for them to, it's kind of required for them to transfer the technical knowledge to business units, but it is not always easy because of various reasons like algorithm complexity or hard coding problems, system configurations, or etc. On the other hand, business users or citizen data scientists are usually domain experts, but have either basic or almost no AI/machine learning skills. So they know well about the business, but which AI and machine learnings are to be applied, but usually they are lack of technical expertise, and often because of that, they often struggle with getting knowledge transfer from AI or machine learning professionals or the data scientist unit. So due to these kind of challenges, there has been a huge demand on democratizing AI to make it accessible for business users. So then we have seen multiple ways to do this in Power BI as well, like we're going to walk you through today. Automated machine learning is one of them. So it's one of the solutions. So it helps citizen data scientists or business users who typically do not have intensive programming skills, but they can make use of pre-built machine learning models. So this AutoML feature let them facilitate the BI applications and easily integrate AI into business. Let me briefly introduce you what automated machine learning, or AutoML in short, does. Minnie's gonna walk you through the detailed features in Power BI shortly, but basically it does a job of repetitive tasks in building machine learning models. So from the usual machine learning workflow, you can see in the box here, once users input data, they don't have to worry about feature selection, algorithm selection, or hyperparameter tuning, or model scoring to find the best model for the analysis. Out of these all things, these are all in the box that AutoML does the jobs, and it will get you the optimized model at the end to deploy. So it provides business users with agile problem-solving ability, and it requires almost no programming skills. Of course, then it saves time and resources. So it can leverage data science or machine learning best practices for business applications. Okay, now let's dive into the main part of this webinar. Min, please take us to the topic to leverage AI machine learning methods in Power BI.
Thank you, Jiwon, and thank you all for joining us in this webinar. Today, I will give you a brief introduction of all the AI and ML features in Power BI with hands-on demos. So, AI and ML capabilities in Power BI can be categorized into 5 main features. AI visualization, Python and R in Power BI, AI Insight or Cognitive Service in Power BI, automated machine learning in Power BI, and lastly, Azure ML integration in Power BI. So before jumping in, I just want to give you a quick overview of my presentation flow. My agenda is I will introduce the first 2 features, AI Visual and Custom Python R, and I will do a demo in Power BI Desktop. And then after that, I will discuss the last 3 features and do a demo in Power BI Services. I know that there's a lot of topic to be covered, so if you have any questions, you can always ask in the Q&A section at the end of the presentation. Okay, let's first start with AI Visual. So what is AI Visual? For me, the idea of AI Visual is that is a data visualization which makes use of highly sophisticated AI and ML algorithm to help provide a deeper understanding of the data. So today I will introduce to you 2 AI visuals in Power BI, which can be really helpful to the business. Keep in mind that this is not a comprehensive list of all the AI visuals in Power BI. Microsoft is developing many more new AI visuals. For example, decomposition tree, which I believe is still in preview. The first AI visual that I will talk about is a Q&A. So most Power BI users are probably familiar with Q&A features in Power BI. So Q&A visual is basically an enhancement of Q&A features in Power BI. The way it works is that it input user natural language questions or sentence, and then it provides answers in the form of charts and graph. Q&A can be applied on the whole data set or can display in a variety of visuals. Next, the second AI visual that I will talk about is key influencers. It was first made available in public preview in February 2019. What key influencer does is that it analyzes the metric that you are interested in based on the data and then rank the factors which influence that metric. It might be a little bit confusing now, but I will go back to it in the demo shortly. The next features that I will talk about is the custom Python and R in Power BI. So Python and R custom visual are probably familiar to most Power BI user. Python and R can provide users with more option in custom visual. For example, you can do violent plot, maybe you can do correlation plot, and many more. So if you have some knowledge in statistic or in data science, you can get a lot of insightful and interesting results from custom Python R. So aside from using Python R custom visual, you can also take advantage of Python R open source library, which can be integrated in Power BI. One of those libraries is PyCaret. It's an open source machine learning library with low code environment. It's really simple and easy to use, and that allows your business analysts or seasoned data scientists to add a deeper layers of analytics in their dashboard. Uh, it might not be easy for everybody to wrap around all this concept and information, so let me show you the demo in Power BI desktop. Okay, so first of all, for jumping into the demo, for Q&A visual key influencer, you would need to install this visual from the marketplace. For me, I already had it, so I don't need to do those things. Let's first take a look at the Q&A visuals. So the data that I'm used here is the demographic data. You can see that on the right-hand side. You can see all the columns there: capital gains, capital loss, education, education number, FNL, weight, hours per week, income, marital, etc. So on the first chart in here, I input a sentence, select native countries as a map, and it's giving a result as a map. It's pretty simple and easy to use in that way. And also it's really flexible in a way that you can actually choose which kind of chart you want to use. For example, if you want to use it as you want to see a table, and you can just like input select native country as table, and it give you table right there. But for me, I prefer it's a map, so I just gonna leave it like that. One more thing is that Q&A visual will, if you don't specify, Q&A visual will pick the best visual that is fit based on your natural language question or sentence. You can see on the second chart, I only input income by average hours per week, and it's give me a bar chart by default. So it's really easy, simple and easy to use. And it's give you like a really basic idea of how the data looks like. Okay, next let's take a look at key influencers. So we will use the same data set, the demographic data set that we just used for the Q&A. In this use case, I'm interested in what factors in age, education, or an occupation that drive income to be less than 50K. So what I will do is that I will first drag the income, which is the metric that I'm interested in the analyze field right here on the right side. And then I would drag the three columns, age, occupation, and education, to the explain by field. One more thing I want to show you is that the income field in here is a categorical values. It only has two values, less than 50K and greater than 50K. So what I would do in here is that the type of analysis I'm using right now is categorical type. Okay, let's go to the chart and see what happened after I drag all the columns into analyze and explain by field. You can see that in here, it give me a chart and then explain which factors that drive income to be less than 50K. For example, in here, I can see that if your age is less than 22 or less, you have 1.3 likelihood that the chance that you will have an income less than 50K. Or in here, education is preschool. They also give you a simple explanation right here on the right side. Income is more likely to be less than 50K when education is preschool than otherwise on average. And when they say on average, they also give you a chart to show what it means by average. It's compared with other factors in education, let's say first to fourth, fifth to sixth, and something like that. And also, if you're interested in what combination of factors which drive the income to be less than 50K, you can click on the top segment tab in here. You can see there's 6 segments in here. Let me click on one of them and see what happened here. So this segment 3 right here is comprised of 3 factors. Education is high school grad, age is less than or equal to 35 or is greater than 61, age is greater than 27. And in here, the key influencer in here also give you a brief explanation of what happened. So in this segment, 80%, 87.5% of the income is less than 50K for this segment. It's really, so you can see that this key influencer is really useful in trying to dive deep into your data. You can get a lot of interesting and insightful results from it. Next, let's go to the Python visual and see what happened here. So for Python and R and PyCaret demo, I will use a different data set called spending. So this spending data comprised of 4 features or columns: age, income, saving, and spending score. You can see it's on the right-hand side, and also let me show you the data to give you a more comprehensive look at the data. Okay, right here. So age is pretty self-explanatory. Income and then savings. Spending score will range from 0 to 1. Okay, let's go back to the demo. In here for the Python visuals, what I'm doing right now is that I'm creating a correlation matrix or a correlation plot. What it does is that it will try to find the relationship between all the features in here. For this use case, I'm using I'm trying to find the relationship between these 3 features: spending score, savings, and income. So the closer the value inside this block to 1 or -1, the higher there's a relationship between these 2 features. For example, in here in this black block, you can see spending. This is the correlation value between spending score and savings, and is equal to -0.92, which is really close to -1, which means there's higher chance of relationship between these 2 spending score and savings. Next, let's go to the R visual. What I'm doing in this R visual is that I'm creating a pairwise plot. It's basically is a multiple scatter plots. So for example, this chart right here, the one on the bottom, is the scatter plot between spending score and income. Or this one on the top left is the scatter plot between saving and spending score. You can see that there's only 2 clusters in the scatter plot between saving and spending score. So there's some kind of characteristic, there's some kind of relationship between these saving and spending score, right? Okay, lastly, let's take a look at PyCaret. It's a really interesting features and is only released in last month. So there's still a lot of development in this library. So for PyCaret, you need to use the Python and R script in the Power Query editor. So what I will do is that I will go to the Power Query editor. So for this use case, I'm still using the spending data set, but I split the data into 2. One is for training and one is for testing. So first, I will need to train the model. So after I load the model in, the training data like this is still age, income, spending score, and savings. What I'm doing is that I will select the transform tab and select the run Python script on the file lab. Since I already did that, I was just going to show you the script I run here. Okay, so the script that I wrote only comprised of 5 lines of code, so it's pretty easy to do. First, what I do is that I import the libraries in, and I will set up the experiment. I will use the data set. The data set in here is basically the spending training data set. And then the target is spending score. What I mean the target is spending score in here is that my goal is that I'm trying to predict the spending score based on age, incomes and also your savings. And then I will use, this is a regression problem. So what I use that, I'm using an extreme boosting model, which is a really popular one now. And after I train the model, I will shift the model to this path. The model will be a pickle file, and I can use this model to apply to other training data. And I will apply that model to the spending test data in here. I would do the process basically the same. So I will click on transform, click on run Python script, and this is the script that I wrote. So I import the package again, and what I did in here is I load the model, the pickle file model that I just trained, and then I will apply that model to the spending test data that I in here. So let me show you the result. Okay, so the result will be the label columns. You can see this is the label column right here. You can get all the result there. You can actually compare with your spending score and see, is it like reasonable? Is your model reasonable? Do you need to retrain the model again or not? So for the scope of this one, I will not go into too detail on how to do this. It's just an overview of how PyCaret works. If you're interested in that, you can definitely go to the PyCaret GitHub website to learn more about that. So you can see that all these AI visual and custom Python are visual can be really useful to use in BI report to have a deeper understanding of your business. But now let's go back to the slide and discuss about the AI ML features in Power BI service. So first, let's start with AI Insight, or basically is Azure Cognitive Service in Power BI. So AI Insight use machine learning algorithm from Azure Cognitive Service to enrich your data in their flows in Power BI service. The transformation are executed on Power BI service and do not require you to have a Azure subscription, but you still need to have like a premium subscription in Power BI to use that. Some features that Power BI support are image tagging. So basically you can extract insight from the image by detecting the objects in your data. Next is key phrase extraction. You go through text and you extract the important phrases in your data. For example, I'm going to get groceries. So the main key phrase in there is going to be get groceries and I'm going, something like that. Detect language is pretty self-explanatory. And then lastly, sentiment analysis. So sentiment analysis is basically is a method to measure the positive and negative sentiment of words, phrases, or sentence. Let's say if you have reviews like this movie is so good, it's usually mean that it's a positive reviews, right? And in sentiment analysis, it will mean that the values will be close to 1. And as G1 already mentioned previously, AutoML is really a powerful tool and it's developing really fast. So let's explore the AutoML in Power BI. So AutoML in Power BI is especially for data flows. It allows user to train, validate, and apply ML models in Power BI. It provides a really simple experience for analysts to create an ML model. It's intuitive and easy to use. So any citizen data scientist or business analyst with some background in data science can make use of these features. You can see this is the process on how you create and train a model in AutoML. So first, you need to select the training data. It's basically need to be an entity in the data flows, and then you choose the model type. Of course, AutoML can help you pick the best model to achieve your business goal. And then after you choose the model, it will take some time to train the model, and it will also generate a report on the model performance. And based on the model performance, you can actually customize and retrain the model until it's optimized, or until you feel that it's good enough. And then you can definitely apply your model to the future data for some new insights. Okay, so lastly, Azure ML integration in Power BI. Starting in 2019, business user can get access to ML models in Azure Machine Learning and extract insight from business model. The process is straightforward with fill, point, and click gestures. The graph here show a high-level architectures of how it works. So first, the data science or machine learning team will build the data science model, and then they will deploy it on Azure. They can give the Power BI access to this ML model, and the Power BI users can use that model in their BI reporting dashboard. So let's go to the Power BI services to get to see how this feature work. First, let's see how cognitive service work in Power BI service. So this is a Amazon reviews. The data is here is let me give you a quick overview of the data. We have ID, product ID, user, profile name. This thing is not really relevant, but what we are focusing on is this summary. This summary column is basically the summary of the reviews. Let's say good quality offers in here or not as advertised, something like that. And how can we score sentiment on this summary text? So what we do is that we can see on the right side, there's a brain icon right here, AI inside, select on it, and then there's photo code cognitive services. What we're trying to do is that we're trying to analyze the sentiment of the summary column. So we're going to click on cognitive service dot score sentiment, and the text where we are going to score sentiment is the summary columns. You just want to leave the language ISO code like that, and click apply. Since I already did that, I was just going to show you the result. So the result right here is the last column, cognitive service dot score sentiment. In here, the first column is the value is 0.99, which is really close to 1, means that it's going to be a positive review. And if the value is close to 0, that means it's usually going to be a negative review. And that is it for the AI inside cognitive service. You can actually play more with like all the other features like detect language with or image tagging with other data set. Next, let's try to look into AutoML. So first, let's have a quick overview of the data. So this is a bank customer data. We have credit score, we have age, we have tenure. So how many years have the customer had used this bank service, the balance, the number of products that they use. Do they have a credit card in this bank or not? Are they a active members or not? What is their estimated salary, and where do they live? 1 means that they live in France, 0 means that they does not live in France. We have Germany, Spain, the same thing. And female or male is basically a way to one hot encoding the gender column. So 1 means that they are female, and 0 means that they are not male. So the columns that we will focus or we're trying to predict is this exited column. Exited is basically a customer churn column. So 1 means that they have left the bank service, and 0 means that they still stay with the bank and use their services. And what I'm trying to do here is that I'm trying to predict which customer left the bank service and which customer still stay in the service. This is basically a binary prediction problem. We're trying to predict between 1 or 0, right? Okay, let's try to build a AutoML model in here. So what I would do is that this is the data set, the entities I would use for training data. And on the right side, you can see there's a small brain icon right there called a live ML model. You need to click on that. And then let's say add a machine learning model. The entities I'm using is training customer that I just previously showed you. And then the outcome field means that the field that I'm trying to predict, which is the exited columns in here. So after you fill in these two fields, you need to click next. So after that, you will need to choose a model. In here, AutoML can actually choose for you the best model for your data. So in here, what I'm trying to predict is the exited column, and I already mentioned that this is a binary prediction problem, and they actually guess it's right? But in the case that AutoML gives you the model that you don't want to use, you can click on the select different models in here. AutoML provides support for classification and regression model. And let me show you that. So for classification, they have they support a binary prediction, general classification. Okay, let's go back. Choose the target outcome. So what is choose target outcome in here? Because this is a binary prediction, they want to know, like, you want to predict, you want to predict the outcome that I'm most interested in right here. Is it 1 or 0? 1 means that I'm interested in predict which customer service leave the bank, and 0 means that I'm interested in the customer who stay in the bank. So I'm more interested in customer who leave the bank, and so I will click 1. For the label prediction, it doesn't really matter, so I'm just gonna leave it like that. It just label your prediction for you. Let's say you predict this one, this exited value equal to 1. Then what you want to label your prediction? Is it going to be 1, or do you want to label it like the customer stay in the bank, the customer leave the bank service? Okay, let's click next. Okay, so what they're doing right here is that after you choose the model, you need to select the data to train the model. And AutoML automatically choose the columns that they see fit for you for training data. In here, they left out several columns like has credit card or estimated salary because it has low correlation with exited. So if you actually have a domain knowledge in this, you definitely know like which column seems to be relevant to your training or your business problem. You can choose by yourself. But in here, I will leave it like that. And lastly, you just need to name the model and specify how long you want to train the model. Usually, the longer you train the model, the better the result is. In here, since I already trained the model, and also because it's going to take a while to train the model, I will just show you the result of what I got. So the result will be these two. So AutoML will split the data into training and testing set, and they will train the data on a training data, and then will test it on the testing data. And let me show you the result of it. Okay, it seems to be it seems to take really long to see the results. So, but I can actually show you what happened there. So it will create 4 new columns actually. Is it a training data set or a testing data set? And then you can see they'll give you the outcome in here, customer trend prediction output outcome, and then the prediction score, like how sure they are with this outcome. And then lastly, customer prediction output, prediction explanation. So it will explain for you how do they get this outcome. One more interesting about this AutoML is that it also gives you a report on how the model does and how it performance and other things like evaluation metric and what's the model that we use. Let me show you the report, which is really interesting. Okay, so you can see that the model performance here is 86%, and the evaluation metric that they use is ROC. I will explain what is ROC later. And then in here, they give other evaluation metric like precision and recall, and you can actually change like the metric in here. If you want to increase your recall precision, you can just use this slider and train that, and the model will start training again for you. Next, let's see the accuracy report. In here, it will explain for you what is this ROC curve. Let's say in here they said that ROC curve tell you how capable your model is to distinguish between target outcome and other roles in your data. And it's also give you a chart and graph to visualize what happened in this ROC curve. Lastly, the training details. For the training detail, you can see that it gives you, it shows you what model that they use. In here, they use a pre-fitted sort voting classifier. So basically, they use an ensemble method for a lot of like model out. They try to combine a lot of model and use a pre-fit sort voting classifier for the final models. And you can see how many iterations it run, the sample rows and training rows. Other than that, it also gives you what feature engineering that the AutoML does. Let's say in here they do imputation with age, balance, and credit score and estimated salary. Other thing is that they also show you the final parameters selected for the model. So the mean model is 1, the model seed threshold is 0.05, and the max model is 15. And that is it for the AutoML. So next we will talk about Azure ML integration in Power BI. As I already mentioned, this Azure ML model integration means that the data scientists, when they create the model in Azure ML, they can actually give the Power BI user access after they deploy the model on Azure portal. So first, let me show you the model that I deploy on Azure. So in here, this is my my Azure ML resource group, and this is the model insurance cost I deploy on Azure, and I give the Power BI user access to this insurance cost model. Let me show you. So this is the data that I have. I use for this use case, Azure ML use case. This is an insurance cost data set. We have age, we have is female, we have body mass, children is how many children do you have? Are you a smoker or not? And this is the one I'm focusing on right here, the medical cost that you need to pay. And I'm trying to predict this medical cost beyond the other data set. And now how can I do it? What I do is that I go back to the AI Insight icon that I use for Azure Cognitive Service. You can see there's another folder called Azure Machine Learning Models. And in here, you can see that insurance cost. This is a dynamic Power Query function. Basically, in Azure, I give in Azure ML service, I give give Power BI user access to the insurance cost model, and it's turned into a dynamic BioQuery function in here, and I can use that for my own data set. In C, you need to match the column between these two things. So what is these two things? The first column in here, age is female, is basically the original data sets that the data scientists use in the Azure Machine Learning service. And the other column is basically the data sets I'm using in Power BI service. I need to match these two together. Since these two are basically the same in here, so I just want to leave it like that, and then click apply. And let me show you the result. The result is basically a column, Azure ML dot insurance cost in here. This is the result I got. It's really simple to use, right? And you can actually use this model for future data and for future predictive analytics. And that is all for the ML and capabilities in Power BI. I will hand it over to Jiwon, and she will talk more about the benefits of ML and AI in business intelligence.
All right. Thank you, Min. That was great presentation and demo. Okay, so let me point the business benefits and limitations and key takeaways before we wrap up this webinar. So far, we have seen that AI and machine learning capabilities that Power BI provides is very beneficial to business users to drive, value from data, right? And then those kind of features let the business users experience less complexity when they are using AI and machine learning. So one by one, AI visualization and AI insights enable quick and intuitive responses to business questions without much of knowledge in advanced analytics or programming or model training or time-consuming application setup. And AutoML is very beneficial to both machine learning professionals and business users. So it provides a quick overview of business profile to the technical personas. At the same time, it delivers insights in users' hand, business users' hand, without complex queries to explore data. And we also have seen that custom Python and R, and then Azure machine learning integration allow us to build and train our own machine learning models to solve specific business issues. And these all kind of benefits enable BI community to have self-service insights, intelligent dashboard, enhanced data usage, and also encourage data-centric culture in the organization. But let me just mention some limitations of these features in Power BI. Some features are currently available only in Power BI Premium and embedded subscription, especially AutoML. And AutoML models are a little limited. For example, it provides classification and prediction, but it doesn't provide clustering methods. For AI and machine learning, data prep is very important, but Power BI features are a little limited in that sense for data prep and feature engineering. So it actually requires rather clean data to use for the machine learning capabilities. And also, if we need to run a little advanced machine learning models, it provides the feature to integrate our custom model in Azure ML service, but it might be a little barrier for non-skilled business users. Okay, so key takeaways of today's webinar. AI and machine learning is beneficial to business, and there is a huge demand of democratizing AI, and it empowers BI, we saw that. And AI-powered solutions, especially AutoML, makes business users' life a little easier. And Power BI is a great tool to start the AI and machine learning workloads. Okay, wrapping up with our demo and presentation. If you're in need of assessment or studying machine learning and data science work and feel that the Power BI's limitation is a barrier for your application, then Visual BI has a quick implementation offering to help you. You can find it from Azure Marketplace or reach out to us at visualbi.com. I think we have some time, about 5 to 6 minutes left. We'll take some questions here. I see a lot of questions are coming in, especially about the subscription methods, subscription issue. So, there are multiple questions about AutoML, and is it available to all Power BI users?
So automated machine learning in Power BI is only available for data flow that are hosted in on a Power BI Premium or embedded.
Oh, so it's available in Power BI Premium and embedded licenses, right? And there is another question. Do you need to have Azure Cognitive Service to run AI Insight?
No, AI Insight run on Power BI services, so you do not need Azure Cognitive Service or Azure subscription. All the ML modeling and transformation are done in Power BI services.
I have another question. Okay, I think I can explain this one. So does Power BI and Power BI service support all the Python or R libraries? Okay, I can tell you this. Not all packages are available. Only a few data manipulation or plotting libraries such as Matplotlib, Pandas, NumPy, but it also those are available. But if you want to use a little bit of advanced features, scikit-learn is supported for Python. Azure actually provides the list and versions of available packages in Power BI documentation. You can take a look. And I think we have another question about PyCarrot. Do I need to install PyCarrot or is it already in Power BI? Can you answer?
Yes, you do need to install PyCaret in order to use in Power BI. So first you need to install Python and pip, and then after that you can use pip to install PyCaret. Then you will need to set up a Python directory in your Power BI, and then you are good to go. For more information, you can go to the PyCaret GitHub website to see they also have a really detailed instruction on that.
Okay, that sounds reasonable. Then the next question. So how does key influencers calculate the key factors from backend? Do you have any idea on this?
So according to Microsoft, this key influencer AI visual use ML.NET to run the AI and ML model behind the scenes. So for key influencer, so you remember that for key influencers, there's two results. One is the key influencer tab, and the other is the top segment tab. For key influencer, they use logistic regression and linear regression, as well as a statistical test called WAD test, to find the influential factor in there. And for top segment, the AI visual use decision tree to find interesting subgroup characteristic. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Let me take one or two more questions. So this is about AutoML. Can you apply the AutoML model that if I built with another data set?
Well, definitely you can. So after you train and finalize your ML model, you can load your data set that you want to apply your model into the same data flows that you use to train the model. And then you can see that there's a small tab called machine learning model back there, and then you can click on apply ML model and specify the details there. It's really simple. It would not take you a long time to figure everything out in there.
Okay, sounds good. All right, last question. Can I run large complex ML model within Power BI? Let me answer. Yeah, it depends on how the model would be complicated and how big the data set would be. But even though Power BI provides the option to run machine learning models, it should be used only for small model execution because it has limitations with available data size for different types of data and memory consumption issue as well. So for a complex model, it is recommended to offload it to a service like Azure Machine Learning and use Power BI just to consume it. This is actually for real-time data as well. There are some kind of limitations just to use these functionalities in Power BI itself. So I'd rather recommend to use other Azure resources for especially real-time data processing. Okay, so I think we have more questions, but we are running into the end of our webinar. We'll be responding directly back to you with folding questions here. I'd like to thank Min for his time and demo today and for the features inside of Power BI. Okay, with that, this concludes the webinar today. Thank you again and have a great day.